Okay, I'm sure all of you. Srikant.
Thanks a lot. I would like to thank Raghavan for my chance in front of camera. And I am going to speak about generators and relations for a Lie algebra. So, in Upendra's lecture, we have seen how one can associate a root system to a given semi-simple Lie algebra, and we will see today how one can go back, given a root system, how to get a semi-simple Lie algebra out of the root system. So, let's recall a few things. So, suppose L is a semi-simple Lie algebra. If I have to write larger letters, then please let me know. I'll try to keep this size, but even if you want me to write bigger, please let me know. So once we have this semi-simple Lie algebra, we can choose a Karta subalgebra H in L, and under the action of this Karta subalgebra, we can decompose L as H direct sum L alphas, where these non-zero roots for which L alpha is also non-zero, the weights of L under this action of H, that gives us the root system. Once we have this root system, then we can do several things. For instance, we can choose a system of simple roots. Within that, we can have positive, negative roots. Alpha 1 up to alpha L, where L is dimension H. And once we know the Karta integers for alpha I, alpha j, then we know the root system completely. So these Karta integers are given by alpha I, alpha j upon alpha j, which are also alpha I of hj, where h were chosen again with some properties. I was wondering in previous lectures whether we were really recording, because this noise never came, but now I am sure. Okay, and so these HI are some special elements which are independent of everything else that we are going to now do now. What? I should not write. So, okay, let me just say this. So, for each my mobile, okay, we can try that. I can just give it to somebody.
I will receive your call.
Okay, so once we have these positive roots, with respect to these simple roots, we can talk about positive roots and negative roots. Among each positive simple L alpha, we can choose these xi. And remember, these hi are chosen independent of this xi already. Given a root alpha I, simple root, we can choose this hi with this property. Then once we have chosen xi, we have a choice of these yi such that the Lie product of xi and yi is hi. So this is the setup that we will be working with today. So interestingly, a semi-simple Lie algebra can be completely described by whatever we have now on the board. So we know that we can write our semi-simple Lie algebra L as direct sum of these L alphas together with H. So once we generate H by the means of Hi, then we have to generate all L alphas. So all positive roots, negative roots, we know all of these are one dimensional. Each L alpha is one dimensional, so we need only one element for each L alpha. But all negative roots are just given by positive roots, so we have to worry only about positive ones. And even there, simple roots will give all other roots. So if you take an x1 in L alpha 1, x2 in L alpha 2, then the Lie bracket will be an element in L alpha 1 plus alpha 2. So it is clearly enough to take only those xi which are there in the simple L alphas. So these elements all generate our Lie algebra. But there are some relations, okay. So these are certainly generated by these, and so among the relations, Hi and Hj will commute because it's a abelian subalgebra. So that is this is 0. This is one of the very basic relations. Then already this gives us this. The Lie product of xi with yj is delta ij hj. If I is equal to j, then this is hi by our construction, and if I is different from j, then this is 0. We will see why that is so. Again, this is because the add H action has each of these xj and yj as eigenvectors with respect to these particular eigenvalues. Okay, so these are some of the very trivial relations that will follow very easily. There are these two relations. So let's see. Here we have seen the action of hi on hj's, action of xi on yj's, action of hi on xj and yj. So the remaining thing is now action of xi on xk and action of yi on yk. So those are given by add xi to j. Here we have this plus 1 equal to 0. These are the two relations which are usually called finiteness relations. Yeah. So what we are saying here is that xi, yi and hi generate our Lie algebra. That is very clear. But they satisfy at least these many relations. There could be some more relations that these xi, yi and hi may satisfy, and actually Sayre discovered that these relations, these 5 types of relations, form a complete set of defining relations of the Lie algebra L, and that's what we will be proving today. But let's see why these relations hold. So hi, hj, this is 0 because of the algebra L being abelian, and similarly S2 also. So S1 is clear. S2 is clear because alpha I minus alpha j is not a root. So remember, we have that L alpha, L beta, the Lie product is inside L alpha plus beta. If alpha plus beta is not a root, then that Lie product is 0. So here xi is for L alpha I, this is for L minus alpha j. Their sum is not a root. Alpha I minus alpha j is not a root, and it's not even 0. If this is 0, then it could have been an element in H. So the Lie product has to be 0. Okay, therefore xi yj, where I is not equal to j, this will be 0, and when I is equal to j, then we have chosen xi and yi such that we get hi here. This is the definition of actions on hi. About these two, we observe the following. So S3 is also clear. For these, observe that alpha j string through alpha I is alpha I, or do we have to look at alpha j? We have to start with alpha j. Alpha j plus alpha I the string will look like this, because on the negative side there cannot be a root. Alpha j and alpha I are both positive, so alpha j minus alpha I is not going to a root. So the string will start right from alpha j, it will go to alpha j plus alpha I and plus to some integer multiple of alpha I, positive integer multiple. Okay, and then once we have this string, then we know that minus q will have to be alpha j of hi. In particular, this alpha j hi, this is, so I have to just see where we put sign. Yeah, this has to be plus and this has to be minus here. So in particular, alpha j hi is a negative integer. So the string looks like this, where how long one has to go, that can be determined by looking at alpha j acting on hi. Okay, but once we have this, then under the add xi action, where xi is in L alpha I, alpha j, L alpha j will go to this will go to the next one, and so on up to here, and this will further be sent to 0 under the action of add xi. So add xi maps alpha j plus say k alpha I to alpha j plus k plus 1 alpha I, or to 0 if this is not a root anymore. Therefore, sufficiently many times add xi applied to L alpha j will give us 0, and that's what we have here. The next step, you add one more times to this, that will give us 0, and similarly by symmetry this also follows. Okay, so these are the relations that are there in our Lie algebra L, and now we want to show that if we start with a random Lie algebra generated by these symbols xi, yi, hi subject to these relations, then we get a semi-simple Lie algebra corresponding to the root system phi. Okay, so that is what we will do. The main theorem is as follows. Give to Ser. Let capital phi be a root system. With a chosen base. Choose so let L be a Lie algebra generated by xi, yi, hi subject to relations S1 up to S3 and Sij plus minus. So we impose these relations, these 5 types of relations on the Lie algebra L. Then L is a semi-simple Lie algebra, in fact finite dimensional. L is a finite dimensional Lie algebra with H defined to be just the subalgebra generated by Hi, a Karta subalgebra, and with phi the corresponding root system. So starting with a root system and some generators xi, yi, hi subject to these relations, we can get a finite dimensional semi-simple Lie algebra which has this H as Karta subalgebra and phi as the root system.
Can we say this phi and delta are just some abstract root system?
Yes, phi is an abstract root system with this to be any chosen base inside it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the Sij plus minus, these conditions are about alpha j acting on Hi.
Right. So what happens is that once you have phi, then you have these Karta integers, and these Karta integers, they depend only on phi. Yes, that's a good point. I should have said this. So everything depends here only on the root system. All the constants that are there in the conditions, they depend only on the root system. There is no other new thing that we are looking at.
Okay, and alpha is viewed as some functional on H using that.
Yes, then it will come later. When we say that phi is the corresponding root system, that means from once we prove that this is a semi-simple Lie algebra, then we will look at this Karta subalgebra, we will decompose L as under the action of this H, and then we will get a root system that has to be the same as the root system phi. Yeah. Reduced, correct. Yeah. So I should have said here maybe that our base field is going to be an algebraically closed field of characteristic 0 for this lecture. Sorry? The Lie algebra. Correct. Okay, you want me to put the here? Sure. Yeah. Right. So we will look at a free Lie algebra generated by these symbols and then go modulo these relations. We will go modulo the ideal generated by these relations, then we will work with that, correct. So let me start with this free Lie algebra. Maybe I should keep these relations here because we will need them. Good. After preparing for such lectures, one should at least be able to write the generators and relations without having to look at the book. So the proof goes through a few steps. We will prove one result on the way and then we will come to this. So we start with the free Lie algebra generated on these symbols. Let L hat denote right. And initially we will impose only the first three conditions because those are the most natural conditions that we have. We will see how far we can go with only these conditions. Let K0 hat K0 hat is the ideal generated by these relations. By that I mean that we are looking at ideal generated by Hi hat, Hj hat. I should put a hat for these generators also. So we will look at Hi hat, Hj hat, the Lie product, then Xi hat, Yj hat minus delta Ij, Hj hat, and Hi hat, Xj hat minus this Xj hat, Hi hat, Yj hat plus this times Yj hat. These are the elements which will generate our ideal K0 hat, and define L0 to be the quotient Lie algebra. So we are imposing only these three conditions right now. This algebra, although it is defined by using these relations, this is still an infinite dimensional Lie algebra. And then our algebra becomes finite dimensional only after we apply those two more further relations. Therefore, those are called as finiteness relations. So to understand this algebra, as we have also done in PBW theorems proof, we will get a good representation. And using that representation, we will try to understand this. So to get the representation, let V denote the tensor algebra on a vector space generated by V1, V2, VL. So one has to be careful in these notations. Usually when we have a tensor algebra, we have a vector space V, and then we call the tensor algebra to be TV. But to get rid of some of the notations, here we will call the tensor algebra itself to be V, because we will not have to work with the vector space much. We will be working more with the tensor algebra. So remember that this is the tensor algebra on this, and then 1 and these products. This forms a basis for V. Okay, that is just by the tensor algebra, and we will drop these tensors here. We will write these as just products, Vi1 up to Vit, to ease the notations further. We define certain endomorphisms of V as follows. We will define the action of Hj hat on V in this way, that it takes 1 to 0 and it takes this other basis element to a scalar multiple of the same basis element. This gives the action of Yj hat, and the action of Xj hat is little complicated. Yeah. So everything, or okay. This is how one defines action of these Xj hat, Yj hat and Hj hat. So these are certain endomorphisms of our tensor algebra V, and by the definition of free algebra, this gives a representation of L hat. So we get a representation of L hat. That is clear because L hat is freely generated by Xi hat, Yi hat, Hi hat. we just give random images of these and we get a homomorphism from L hat to GLV. But we want to get a representation of L0, so we have to prove that K0 hat is in the kernel of this map. Okay, that is what we will see now. So K0 hat is generated by the relations S1, S2, S3. We should just verify that those elements act by 0 on V. Okay, that's the only thing to check. But observe that HI act by diagonal elements. So definitely HI and HJ will commute. S1 is clear, or maybe I should say okay, because HI are anyway acting diagonally, so different HI will commute. Xi Yj equal to delta Ij Hj, this is something that we have to verify by acting upon these. So I will do one of them. So let's say Xi hat Yj hat acting on, let's say, Vi1 Vi2. Let's try to compute this by using our definition. So Yj hat also acts by a simple minded action, it is just multiplication by Vj. Vj, Vi1, Vi2 minus Yj hat, Xi hat here. So the first one, Xi hat will come in between, and then here we will have delta I1 I. I1 I, alpha I2 Hj Vi2 and then Yj hat applied on this. But again Xi hat of Vi2 is going to be 0. Xj hat of any Vi is 0. So that term vanishes, and what we get is here we have this minus Yj hat, this is 0, only this remains, so we will have minus, it becomes plus 2 Hj Vi2, and we have to apply the Xi hat action once again inside. So I hope it comes to the correct thing at the end. So we will have Vj Xi hat Vi1 Vi2 minus delta Ij, the two of the other things, alpha I1 applied to Hi plus alpha 2 to Hi Vi Vj plus Yj hat. Now this is just a constant, this comes out, and Yj hat applied to this will be Vj Vi2. So perhaps I should just have done this for a single Vi, then we would have seen how these calculations come out to be. So at the end, what we are supposed to get is delta Ij Hj hat acting on Vi1, Vi2. So one has to do these computations, which I have not done obviously, but one can do this and get the answer finally. So the only thing is that we have to act by xi hat and yj hat inductively on smaller length elements, and then that gives the answer. So this is how one would check that these relations hold. So xi hat yj hat minus yj hat xi hat will then be delta ij hj hat under the Lie algebra GLV. Okay, so using these computations, which are given in Sayre's book also, and we will try to have some tutorial problems on these, one checks that kernel k hat, kernel phi hat contains this ideal k0 hat. Alright, and so once we can go modulo these, then we get a representation of L0, the Lie algebra L0 in the same vector space. It's 0. That is on other VIs. So yj hat of 1 is 0, but whenever we have any length element here, we have Vi1, Vi2, then it multiplies by Vj. Right, so here I have started with Vi1 and Vi2. So we have never reached that position where we have to act by yj hat on a single element 1. Did we? I don't think so. The only place where we could have had is here, but here this is just a scalar multiple that comes out, and yj hat then acts on Vi2. No, everywhere. Yes, yes. Actually, so to say, there is no relation between these Vi and Xj's, although indices could be same, but there is no other relations.
Sorry, so yj hat on Vi is 0?
No, it is Vj Vi. Yj hat on any length, any such product is just Vj being added to it, except that yj hat of 1 is 0. That's all. Okay, so if you trust me on this, then using all other calculations, this proves that k0 hat is in the kernel of this homomorphism from L hat to GLV, and so we get a representation of the algebra L0. Okay, so this is still an infinite dimensional Lie algebra that can be seen by just acting upon a single Vi. So here the action is just going to be by diagonal elements, but here you act upon by a single Vi or by yj hat, and then you get all other Vi's, because yj will give you Vj Vi, then apply yj again, it will give you Vj Vi1, Vi2, and so on, and we get all these basis elements just by the action of yj's. So therefore L0 cannot be a finite dimensional Lie algebra. Okay. So now we prove an intermediate theorem before going to Sayre's theorem. I am just wondering which part to erase. So we prove the structure of L0 now, and then we will go modulo those two finiteness relations to get the structure of L. With xi one has so we are looking here inside L0, which is our quotient of L hat. Yes.
What was the argument for that? Why this thing is not finite dimensional?
The argument is that if we choose any Vi and act upon Vi by the whole algebra L0, but just Yj alone will give us infinitely Vj's which are all linearly independent in the image. So it cannot be a finite dimensional Lie algebra. Is an L-dimensional abelian Lie algebra and L0 equal to Y direct sum H direct sum X where Y respectively X is the subalgebra of L0 generated by Yi. So although we do not get a finite dimensional Lie algebra, at least H is now an L-dimensional abelian Lie algebra. That is something that we can achieve just in this setup, just by the first three relations. Okay, and the remaining thing that we get is that L0 again breaks down in some sense as weight spaces for H. Now this is an L-dimensional abelian Lie algebra. Inside our whole Lie algebra L0, it will act on L0. And we will see by those relations which are actually written down here that X will be our positive weight space and Y will be the negative weight space. This is something that we can achieve in L0 itself. Alright, so we need to prove these results. There are many steps. So step number 1, are the canonical map, the quotient map from L0 hat to L0 sends the space generated by Hj hat isomorphically onto these. That is step 1. But how do we see this? So certainly Hj's are there in the image, and assume that there is a kernel for this map in this space. If it doesn't send isomorphically, if the Hj's are not linearly independent, then we would have some relation between them within L0. Okay, we are sending from L hat to L0 just all Hj hat to Hj, and we want to say that the dimension remains L, dimension does not decrease. So suppose it decreases, and so we have such a relation among the Hj's. Then L0 is acting on the vector space V. It will have to act by 0. So acting on a suitable element, we will get that summation Aj alpha j hi is 0. Acting on suitable Vi's, I guess. So this is what we would get for all I. But this contradicts the invertibility of the Karta matrix. The Karta matrix that was considered, that's a non-singular matrix. And if this holds for all I, just because this summation Hij Hj is 0, then it contradicts the non-singularity of Karta matrix. So we must have that all these Aj's are 0. Which thing? Right, but we are acting on just the elements Vi, not all other elements. Just act upon by this on Vi alone. That itself will give us the result that we want. And so we have this, that the canonical map L hat to L0 will send H to an isomorphic algebra there inside L0. Now we look at this three-dimensional subspace xj hat, yj hat, hj hat, and look at its image inside L0. We claim that this also maps isomorphically inside L0. But observe that within L hat, this is our copy of SL2, which we know is a simple Lie algebra. So its image can be either 0 or again whole SL2. And the image is non-zero because Hj hat is not going to 0, it is going to Hj. Therefore, this will have to map isomorphically. Okay. And moreover, for different xi and different yi's, this will give us different copies because their action on V is again different. We get at least inside L0, there are at least those many copies of SL2. And finally, we just look at this sum, vector space sum of these three subspaces of L0. We claim that this is a subalgebra. Where?
We are restricting the subspace. We are taking the subspace into the J
Okay.
gap and Y gap.
Yes.
So that is three-dimensional.
Yes.
So we can conclude that image is algebra.
Of image of this is again a Lie algebra.
So that we can conclude.
Why not? It's a Lie algebra homomorphism,
So this is subspace of free Lie algebra.
but it's a subalgebra of the free Lie algebra.
There is no relation.
But after relations, right. So this is after relations. After putting the relations, yeah. So here we are looking at just the algebra H, just algebra Y, which is generated by Yi alone, and the algebra X, which is generated by Xi alone. We claim that their sum is also a subalgebra, but that again follows because so all we have to observe is that if you take Lie bracket of elements from these two, then it's again there in the sum. But H is going to act on Y. Elements of Y are eigenvectors for elements of H. So the Lie algebra of these two is again contained in Y, Lie algebra of these two is contained in X, and Lie algebra of these two is contained in H. So this is a subalgebra of L0, and moreover it contains generators of L0. So it has to be equal to L0. Now we have to just observe that this sum is a direct sum, and then we will be done. So these are the steps in the proof. So why is this direct sum? Because of weights of H being different. So this is because weights of H are different on these. So what happens is that actually we have decomposed L0 in terms of weight spaces of H. X is generated by Xi, on which capital H acts by positive roots. On H itself it will act by 0, and on Y it acts by negative roots. So what we have done furthermore is that we have written H0 as this, we have actually decomposed the whole algebra L0 in terms of these weight spaces. Okay. So here I have omitted one computation which will tell this. So I will just write this computation. We will perhaps take it in some tutorial. So the computation is as follows, that Hj acting on xi1, xi2 up to xit is alpha I1 xj plus alpha IT xj, the same element. So this says that the generators, these elements in X, these are eigenvectors for H with these eigenvalues. So this is like alpha I1 up to alpha IT, the sum acting on Hj. So it's the sum of those weights. If each of these are simple, then the sum is positive, and so we get that Xi form eigenspace for positive weights. And similarly for Yi, we will see that these are eigenspaces for negative weights. Therefore, the sum y plus h plus x is a direct sum. All right. So this much for L0, and now we go to study our algebra L. So before going to do that, we will have a small lemma. Here. So we observe that under image it's an SL2, which is a simple Lie algebra. So the action of this on V should either be by 0 or by the simple Lie algebra itself. But it cannot be 0 because H is acting by non-zero vector on V. So whole SL2 should also act by SL2 itself. So this is the last lemma before we go on to do proof of Serre's theorem.
So such brackets
Yes.
generate X.
Yes. Yes. Of so this relation holds in the Lie algebra L0 itself. Let's look at this relation carefully. So this add yi power this integer minus alpha I hj plus 1 applied to yj. This is one of our relations here. This is Sij minus. I should have alpha j hi. Okay. So if we take any such relation which is right now just an element in L0, then add xk applied to this gives us 0 for any k. And of course we need I not equal to j, because this relation, these relations Si plus and minus, these are only there for I not equal to j. That's -1, so okay. That's why maybe we have to take I not equal to j.
Sorry?
No, that was.
So you're ruling out I equal to
I am ruling out I not equal to j. I am ruling out I equal to j. Yeah. So this element is an element of L0 such that xk commutes with this element. Add xk applied to this element is 0 for every k and whenever I not equal to j. So proof has two cases and we will do only one case. K equal to I, k not equal to I, two cases. We will just do the second case, k not equal to I. So whenever k is not equal to I, we have that xk and yi, these adds commute. Okay. So we can just take these copies of add yi outside. This is what we get. Again, there are cases k equal to j and k not equal to j. If k is again not equal to j, then this is 0, because alpha k minus alpha j is not a root. Okay, so if whenever k is not j, this is already 0 and we get the result. So without loss of generality, we can assume that k is equal to j. Okay. So we will then be looking at add xj applied to yj, which gives us hj. hj. So you apply add yi once. So if k is not j, then this is already 0 here, because alpha k minus alpha j is not a root, therefore this is already 0. So we will assume k is equal to j and I put that value here. I apply it once, but add yi hj is nothing but some multiple of yi, because hj will act on yi now. So this is alpha I hj, no, yeah, alpha I hj of yi. We have acted upon hj by add yi once and we got a scalar multiple of yi. But now observe that this, we had earlier observed that this alpha j hi, this is a negative integer and it's more than 1, at least 1. So minus of that is going to give us a positive integer, and this is just a scalar. So add yi applied at least once on yi will give us 0. Okay. So this is 0. So the case of k equal to I, this is slightly more involved, but these are again some similar types of computations, and using Jacobi identity one gets that this relation holds in general. Okay. So the one thing we have observed is that we are ultimately going to go modulo these elements also in L0, because we have to impose these further relations. And what we have observed is that if you just take the vector subspace generated by these elements, that is at least invariant under the action of xk. That is what we have observed from this lemma. Now in remaining 20 minutes, I will prove Sayre's theorem. So statement of Sayre's theorem is written here. We start with a reduced root system. We fix a base. Let L be the Lie algebra generated by these three types of generators, subject to all these relations. Then we have to prove the conclusion that it's a finite dimensional semi-simple Lie algebra. H gives a Karta subalgebra inside it, and when we decompose L with respect to H, we get these root system back. Okay. Once again, there are several steps, and the steps go as follows. So we start with L0. Remember, this was quotient of the free Lie algebra generated by those 3L generators, xi hat, yi hat, hi hat, and then we imposed these first three types of relations. That is what gives us our algebra L0. Start with L0 and let capital K be the ideal of L0 generated by the relations Sij plus and Sij minus. We call this ideal K, and we go modulo this and define L to be the quotient Lie algebra. This is going to be our candidate for the semi-simple Lie algebra in the theorem. Let I be the ideal of X generated by these add xi power minus alpha j hi plus 1 of xj and j the ideal of y generated by add yi power minus alpha j hi plus 1 of yj. So K is ideal of L0 generated by both these types of relations. We are separating them out and looking at the ideal I inside capital X and ideal J inside capital Y. Step number 1 is that in the proof that these are also ideals of L0. So right now by our constructions, these are ideals only in X and Y, but we claim that these are ideals in the whole of L0, and that can be seen by the lemma that we have proved earlier. So ideal I is certainly invariant under the action of H, because each of the xi are eigenvectors for capital H. It's also being ideal inside X, they are invariant under the action of add X, and add Y invariance is proved similar to this lemma. Okay, so the previous lemma says that J is invariant under action of X and hence is an ideal of L0. Similarly, I is also an ideal. Okay, so I alone is an ideal in L0, J is an ideal in L0, so is there some I plus J. But I plus J contains all the generators of K. K, remember, is the ideal generated by both of these types of generators. So K has to be equal to I plus J. Okay. So the first two steps are done. Now we have to go modulo K, but remember we had a decomposition for L0, this decomposition y plus h plus x. So we can go modulo K in each of these, and K has no intersection with h, so we get h just as it is. For x we have to go only modulo I, because there we will have no contribution coming from J, and for y we have to go only modulo J. And since the intersection is 0 for both of these ideals, we have that we can go modulo I and J separately for these y and x. Okay. So we get this kind of decomposition for L by going modulo the ideal K, where n minus is this. So observe that n minus, n plus, n just n, and h are eigenspaces for h with negative, positive and 0 weights respectively. All right, so we have got this kind of decomposition now for our algebra, Lie algebra L. All right. Once again, just like we proved in the last theorem, one proves that the algebra H, so here this is algebra generated by Hj, maps isomorphically. So that is something I have just assumed there. So this step should come before this step, but we observe it once again in L. This is because we are going modulo K, which has no relation to do, nothing to do with H. H will go inside L as it was in L0, and so does the algebra generated by Xi, Yi and Hi. Remember, this was a copy of SL2 inside L0. So it will go to 0 or SL2 again, but Hj is not going to a non-zero element, Hi is going to non-zero. So it will have to go to full SL2. Now there is something about construction of automorphisms which I will not be able to do much. So maybe I should erase some of this part and say something quickly about locally nilpotent endomorphisms. Or perhaps I will just say that without writing. So if we have an infinite dimensional vector space, an endomorphism of such a vector space is said to be locally nilpotent if for every vector there is a high power of that operator which kills it. Okay, so this power will depend on each vector. Suppose X is that endomorphism of vector space V, we call it locally nilpotent if given any vector V, some power, high power of X kills V. Alright. Now if we take an X invariant subspace of capital V which is finite dimensional, then X is a nilpotent operator on this, and so exponential of this operator makes sense as far as this subspace is concerned. Alright. So similarly, starting with every vector, we choose a finite dimensional subspace which is invariant under X and contains that vector, and we can define the exponential map by just looking at that subspace. But since whenever you take W and W prime, on the intersection the exponential map will agree, because it is just exponential defined on W restricted to the intersection, and exponential map defined on W prime restricted to the intersection. So we can patch these exponential map and get an automorphism of the whole space. Okay, so this is the idea. And for that, we will look at a particular type of endomorphisms. So these are the typical automorphisms of Lie algebras that we should be looking at, and I will not have much time to do this, so I will just state those results. Are locally nilpotent endomorphisms of L. So for a fixed add xi, we look at M, which are vectors which are filled by high powers of add xi. We look at M, just a subspace of capital L, which consists of vectors which are filled by high powers of add xi. But certainly this will include all positive x's, and similarly all negative x's, and certainly x. This is first of all a subalgebra of L and contains generators by our relation, contains generators of L. These are precisely our relations. So M is L. In particular, add xi is a locally nilpotent endomorphism of L. Similarly, add yi is so, and we can talk about exponential of these maps. we can talk about the exponential of these maps, and these exponentials together give a very special type of automorphism. These are automorphisms of L. So these automorphisms are supposed to act on H, and under the action of H, these will give us while group elements. But this is something that we will not do right now. I will just state the next few steps without proving them. So if you have lambda and mu is a characters such that lambda equal to sigma mu for some sigma in the while group, then the corresponding eigenspaces have the same dimension. So this can just be proved for the generators of W, and these are supposed to give the generators. But I will not be able to do this in more detail. Dimension L alpha equal to 1 for all alpha in phi, and dimension L alpha is non-zero implies that alpha is either a root or it is 0. And finally, together with these two, which we have not proved, but we will try to take them up in tutorials, together with these two we can prove that L is now finite dimensional, because L alphas are 0 except when alpha is either already a root or alpha is equal to 0. So here dimension L follows from this is dimension L0, which is just L, dimension of H, plus cardinality of the root system. Therefore now it's a finite dimensional Lie algebra. So after having all this hard work, we are able to prove that L is a finite dimensional Lie algebra. We have to still prove that it's semi-simple. But that is easy, and it's a nice proof actually. So suppose we have an abelian ideal inside L. Suppose we have an abelian ideal. We want to prove that such an A has to be 0. Okay, but we start with an A, then it's an ideal, so it is invariant under action of H. We decompose it in this way under the weight spaces for action of H. If there is a positive weight space anywhere here, remember these are all one dimensional now. So if at all there is a non-trivial intersection, the whole one dimensional eigenspace has to sit in A. So the moment you have such a weight space, you act upon by L minus alpha. And then we get an element H alpha. Okay, so here we have H alpha, which is in A. will have the corresponding H and also Yi, because now L of minus alpha is also sitting there. So we will have a copy of SL2 inside A, but A is an abelian ideal, so it cannot contain SL2. And similarly, if you have just H sitting in A, then you choose a suitable HI there and again get a contradiction in the similar way.
Why is the decomposition?
It's invariant under the action of H. It's an ideal, so you act by H, it is still invariant under it, and then you can decompose it in terms of weights. So this is my shortcut for writing, A0 and the A alphas and so on.
A0.
So this proves that it's a semi-simple finite dimensional Lie algebra, and then we have to prove that the corresponding root system is same as phi, but that we have already obtained by writing here. So this implies that L is actually H, where H sum these L alphas. So this gives the root system back. We have to verify that the Karta integers are the same, and so actual root system, instead of just having a set of roots, we get the same root system, but that also follows. And so 11 is that now L is a finite dimensional semi-simple Lie algebra with H as its Karta subalgebra and the corresponding root system is phi. So this proves Sayre's theorem, and this also gives us an existential theorem for a given root system. So far we have seen that one can get a root system phi starting with an algebra L, semi-simple Lie algebra L, but this way we can also go back, starting with a root system and some chosen set of generators xi, we get a whole Lie algebra L just by this much data that we have. And it has some nice applications. For instance, whenever we have embedding of a Dynkin diagram in another Dynkin diagram, then that gives us natural inclusions for several Lie algebras. For instance, E6, E7 and E8, these three inclusions are given just by inclusions of Dynkin diagrams and by Sayre's theorem. So I will try to write notes, because I have been writing notes for other people and I cannot sit in my lecture and write notes. I will try to write these notes and distribute these, or maybe have some tutorials. That's all.